Hey guys, it's your favorite little blue Bodhi here. Welcome to the second episode of the Bodhiverse. This is a couple weeks late in the making, and we're going to talk about shadow work. We're going to talk about trusting your gut. We're going to talk about trials and tribulations. We're going to talk about the last 2 weeks in general. We're just going to talk about the last 2 weeks because I think that the last 2 weeks really, really emphasized everything that I'm going to talk about right now. This may end up being a little bit of a longer podcast too. Normally these are about 30, 45 minutes. I don't know, depending on how long I ramble, right? This one's probably going to be about 45 minutes, but it's very important. And I realized how important it was after sharing something about how tough this last couple weeks were for me and getting all of y'all's comments about holy shit, yes, this last fucking week was terrible. And then 2 or 3 comments that were really hateful about, well, you must be doing something wrong. No, that's not it. So let's start with this. I have been doing this for over 40 years. 40 years. I have been learning. I have been teaching. I have been, continually learning. Let me say it that way. About the way that the universe works, about the way everything around you works. And I tell people all the time, the universe requires balance, requires balance. You can never be all love and light. You can never be all evil and baneful. The universe requires balance. The universe is gray. There's a reason I chose a gray shirt to wear for this podcast. The universe is gray. You have to have both sides. There has to be a balance. Now let's talk about the last couple of weeks because holy shit fuck. It was a doozy. I mean, I put out a video that just jokingly, I said, man, I feel like I completely got bullied by the universe over the last couple weeks. Like it took my lunch money every day. It fucking trounced me up and down the hallways. It shoved me in several lockers and left me there. Like I don't want to go back to school anymore. Now, before we go too much further with that, I know a lot of y'all had the same fucking week I did. I know a lot of y'all had the same 2 to 3 weeks. Mine was really the last 2 weeks, but I needed it. I needed it. And I hope that by the end of this podcast, the next time you guys go through the universe bullying you hardcore for a week or 2 weeks or a month or however long it is, that you can see while you're in it that this was needed. Okay? So let me start here. You know that I am a big, big proponent of trusting your gut. I tell people all the time, trust your gut, trust your gut. Your gut is never going to lie to you. But sometimes even the best teachers aren't able to take their own advice. Case in point, myself. I put too many goals on myself. And with some of these goals, the last 6 months, the first 6 months of this year, I've been pushing myself too hard in a way like I was pushing myself last year. But instead of ramping up to that push, I just started in that push. And you can't do that. I know better, but yet I did it anyway. I've been attempting to shove through a wall that on a path that no longer was my path. And I know if you guys watch any of my videos that you have seen the video, and it's been about 3 weeks ago where I talked about, the major shift and how it felt like the energy was like the energy in March of 2022 for me personally. And a lot of you guys were like, holy fuck shit. Yeah, that's right. In March of 2022, my goals were completely different than they were in March of 2023. And a lot of you guys know also, if you listen to me at all, I'm a Capricorn. I have a lot of Capricorn placements, including my Mars. I can't help but be stubborn sometimes. I love change. In fact, I am horrible with rushing forward because I have a lot of cardinal placements as well. I'm horrible with rushing forward and not taking time to do the change. I forget that not everyone needs change 5 or 6 times a day. So, this last couple of weeks, the universe fully sat me on my ass and then had to put its hand on my head to make me stay sitting on my ass. As you guys know, I got a live band, my first ever live band. Let me look at the calendar. June 12th, Monday, about 12:30. I was on a live. We were talking about just random stuff. It was a rainy day. I had a headache. I had my migraine glasses on. We were talking about all kinds of things. And then randomly, we started talking about how everyone should go vote. How everyone should go vote. Now, let me preface this with there are trolls all over. There are trolls. There are always going to be. I also want to say this. I am that person that I will fire a client. If they go too far, if they're abusing me, if they're abusing my staff, if they're speaking in a way that is uncool, I will fire you. Not everyone is meant to work with everyone. I am not meant to work with everyone. And when it's time to cut ties, it's time to cut ties. And I understand that on both sides. I never take offense when a client's like, hey, I feel like I'm moving a different direction. I need to go here, here, or here. That's fantastic. And I wish you the absolute best in your path. Because guess what? I have been doing this a long time. And I'm smart enough to know that not every single person is meant to follow me every step of the way, because my path is not your path. Your path is not my path. I said that because I had to fire a couple clients the 11th and the morning of the 12th. And as we were talking about everybody needs to go vote, I said, I don't care what side you're on, you need to go vote. And I also made the statement that I could see where both sides said that there was a problem with voting machines. I have literally seen it here in Oklahoma. I didn't say what I had seen. I just said I have seen it here in Oklahoma. Bam, live got shut off. For spreading misinformation about election results. Okay. So I filed the appeal. I was supposed to hear in 24 hours. I never heard from TikTok. I was pissed. I was pissed. I spent Monday being pissed. I went to the gym. I ran on the treadmill for 30 minutes. I usually only do like 15 and I do like a brisk pace. I don't run. And even after 30 minutes, I felt like I needed to keep going. Like I got on the rowing machine, like I was pissed and I had to leave that energy somewhere. Came home, I grounded myself, I spent the evening with my kid, like I was still just fuming. So I tried to push forward anyway, because that was the universe's way of saying, look, bitch, you've been pushing too hard. You've talked about redoing your schedule, but you haven't done it. So let's take a pause. Well, me being the Capricorn I am, I said, nah, I have another account. So I got on my secondary account, started doing lives. And everybody's been asking for Lurleen. So I got on and did some Lurleen. And it's funny, I only did about 8 readings. And I told Sass, hey, cut my tickets off. I knew I was not going to be on there very long. I said, hey, cut my tickets off. She said, I got this weird text. You okay? Everything okay? I'm fine. She cut my tickets off. And after I finished the last ticket, the last reading, I got my live there banned. I got my live banned for hate speech of all things. I was making fun of myself for having little bitty short tiny arms. And I got banned for hate speech. I put out a couple videos, and you know what? I spent the weekend going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? Because this is how I make money. TikTok is my mainstream of income. So if I can't go live, I don't make the money I need to make to pay my bills. I also had a trip coming up to Colorado, a retreat. And I knew 2 months ago I needed to cancel it or move it. I didn't. I was like, you know what? I'll just go. I kept trying to plan things and things kept falling through. Like I even had reservations at two different hotels in Denver. Like, one for a couple days and then one for the next couple days after. Both of them fell through. I've never had that happen once, much less twice for the same trip. Both of them. But I'm still going to go. There's tons of hotels in Denver, right? I'm still going to go. It's just a setback. It's okay. So, Saturday, the 17th. I'm at the shop and I'm doing the things. And I made the comment to Shane, I needed to spend more time at the shop, that I missed being there. And he was like, oh, I'm sure the universe is going to, hold you to that. Ha ha ha. Okay. We just joked around. I left. Okay. Had a date. I know. Y'all are like, what? All day long, the newscasters have been saying that the storm was going to be really bad that night. All day long, I had felt off. I knew I didn't need to be going out that Saturday night. I knew it. But guess what? I went anyway. I wasn't going to cancel this date. Go to dinner, go to the movie. I'm watching the weather. I'm watching the storm. It's way out in western Oklahoma, like Woodward, way out there. It's like 4 hours from my house. 4 hours. We get to the movie 45 minutes early for some reason. Finally get around, movie starts. We get in when the movie's not even supposed to have started yet. It's supposed to be the previews. But yet it's 10 minutes into the movie. So that was fucked up. So they had to restart it. All these things. You know what I mean? All these things with the universe saying, why are you not listening? Why are you not fucking listening? I did trust my gut at least, and we drove separate cars. Even though we ate dinner together, I said, hey, let's just take our cars to the movie theater, So about 45 minutes into the movie, I got up to go to the bathroom because, I drink a lot of tea, I pee a lot. And I checked my phone. That storm had already made it between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. And I started to kind of panic. So I calmly went back to my seat and I was like, hey, I showed him the radar. And I said, we should go. I need to go home. He knows I have epilepsy. I said, I don't need to be driving. About that time, we both got an alert on our phone that said 90-mile-an-hour winds approaching. We hoofed it outside. No one else left the theater. Not that it was packed. There was maybe 10 people in there for the brand new Flash that had just came out in IMAX. 10 people. We were the only ones that left. Quick hug, goodbye, call you tomorrow, cool, bye. Rush home. I got about maybe half a mile from my house and the storm siren started going off. Now, I'm telling you all of this for a reason, okay? Because I want you to start seeing all of the places where I should have listened to my gut. Because I saw them and I didn't listen. Now, living in Oklahoma, unfortunately, 2 times in my life, I have been in a car and seen a tornado coming at me. Once it was a smaller one and it was kind of far off and I was able to get away pretty quickly, but it's still a pretty scary fucking thing to see something like that coming at you when you're in a car. The second time I had both my kids in the car and I had to run the lights at one of the turnpike gates. And this was back when where there was a gate. You had to stop at each one. You couldn't just go through it. I cannot explain to you the terror I had in that moment, because that thing was barreling down on us. And I had both of my children in the car. So these storm sirens are going off and I'm in my car. And I started to panic. And I was like, you know what, bitch, just breathe, calm down. Pull the radar up on my phone. I was calmly cussing the person in front of me that they needed to fucking move. And I'm watching as I'm driving the last few blocks to my house. There are people out on the street walking around. And I'm like, what are you doing right now? I wanted to tell them all, like, get the fuck inside. But you know what? None of my business. I get to my house. I pull in the driveway. I can't put my car in the garage because I have all kinds of shit in my garage that has to go to my shop. And I haven't done it yet, even though I've known I needed to do it. So now I'm panicking because guess what? My car has a glass roof. And we've had a lot of hail lately. So if I have hail, I can't really drive my car if my roof is shattered, can I? And if everybody's cars are fucked up, it's going to be a while before, like all these things are going through my head. So I pull my car up as much as I can. I go rushing up to the porch, and all of a sudden on my porch, I stopped. Sirens are blaring. There is one almost, less than a yard over from my house. It's loud. I stood on my porch, my back to the street. The wind is whipping everywhere. My dogs are barking inside. And I remembered, you have a home protection system. In each corner of my yard, when I moved in here, I blessed the house, I blessed the property, and I buried a jar and 3 nails in each corner of my property. I'm not going to tell you what all's in the jar, but I made it specifically for this place. I have never had a problem in my house. I stood on the porch, took a deep breath, I put my hands out, my palms toward the ground, and I just kind of sent out this protective wave over myself, my dogs, my house, my car, my property, my kids. My son Brody's at his house. My other kid was at his dad's. My family, my dad lives not too far from me, my sister the other way. Everybody that I care about that's in the path of this storm, I just kind of sent something out. I took a breath, and then I rushed my fucking ass inside. I scooped up my dogs and I got in the fucking closet. So in Oklahoma during storm season, you keep everything in your fucking purse. You keep your medicines, you keep an extra charger, you keep all the stuff, okay? But for some reason, so I turned my TV on in my bedroom so I could hear it in the closet. I came in here and I grabbed my Minsinki and my Exu doll. Exu is my travel buddy. Both of them I got at Voodoo Authentica in New Orleans. Both of them are extremely protective spirits. X goes everywhere with me. He's my travel buddy. I pulled them in the closet. Bear didn't want to get in the closet. I had to chase that little fucker down repeatedly. Get in the closet, shut the doors, and about that time, the electric goes off. But thankfully, I have a couple battery packs. I had already had them charged. For some reason, I did trust my gut on that. They'd been sitting on my desk charging for a week. So, turn my tablet on. I have the YouTube live going, and thankfully, I had data, 5G instead of Wi-Fi, because I had no Wi-Fi because that went out. I'm sitting in there, and I'm listening to them talk about it. I'm listening to the wind whip outside. The lights are off. Y'all, it sounded like there was a tornado that went over my house. It was so loud. There were so many bangs, pops, and I did have the thought, I'm going to die in this fucking closet with all of these fucking clothes and shoes. And then suddenly it was quiet. On the radar and on the live TV, they were like, it's past, it's good. It's hitting this part now, hitting this part now, hitting this part now. The news station down the street, less than a mile from my house, clocked the winds at 111 miles an hour. I fully expected damage to my car, my property. I had left all my lawn chairs out, my pool net out, like all kinds of things I didn't have time to go put up because guess what? My stupid ass needed to go on this date that I didn't need to go on. So I went to bed trying not to think about what I was going to walk out into the next morning. I didn't sleep well because there were sirens all night long. I also have a fire station right up the street. I got up the next morning, turned on the TV on my phone because I had no power. They were talking about the devastation in Tulsa, and I'm like, okay. So I go outside and I check my car, expecting it to be totaled, damaged in some way. Nope, Bernadette is fine. Not one tree in my front yard was damaged. So I go out to my backyard. Not one tree in my backyard was damaged. The neighbors lost a branch, fell in my yard, missed my pool by a few inches. It did mess up the hose, which I fixed. My lawn chairs were still there. My pool skimmer was still there. There was still bird seed in the flat bird seed tray. It was wet, had water in it, but it was still there. And I kind of giggled internally, and I remembered standing on my porch and doing that. I took a drive around town. A couple of blocks behind me, a house burnt. I don't know if it was from lightning or the electric wires. I drove down streets where electric poles were snapped in half and laying on buildings and cars and houses. I saw trees, big, massive, old, beautiful trees, big as round as my car, snapped. I didn't stay out very long. I went home. And I sat out in my backyard the vast majority of the day, being thankful that I was okay. My kids were okay. In fact, my kid who was at his dad's, they didn't even lose power. And that's never been a thing. That's the first place that loses power. My sister's okay. Her family's okay. My dad's okay. Everybody was okay. And I sat there in the backyard just being happy and just burning things, cutting wood up and burning it. I spent the rest of the week without power. PSO told us a couple different times it was on. I'd come home, it wasn't. I spent the night at my house on the solstice. About died. It was so fucking hot, but I had things to do on the solstice. The rest of the week I slept at my shop. Had my dogs there, thankfully. Brody had no power, so him and his wife slept at the shop. Thankfully, I had the shop to sleep in. Do you remember me saying that I had put into the universe that I needed to spend more time at the shop? Well, I got it. I got to fucking live there for a week. And while I was at the shop, I got a bunch of stuff done. And I realized how much I had let fall behind. I checked out. I don't like to micromanage anyway. And I just assume one person can run the shop with somebody just helping every now and then. And that's not the case. I need to be there. I need to be helping. I need to be doing things. There's things I have to make. They can't make them. I have to make them. Because unfortunately, I've had people steal my recipes. So I don't really trust anybody. I do trust Shane, and I'm starting to teach him how to do some stuff. But it was an interesting week. And I started to think back over the last 2 weeks, really over the last month, because when I was in Dallas, Memorial Day for Texas Frightmare, that whole weekend I felt out of place. I went by myself. I knew tons of people there. I had several friends that were going to be there. I made new friends, friends I hadn't seen in a long time. Friends I'd only met online came up to help me. Tons of you guys came to see me and hug me. And I knew the whole weekend I wasn't supposed to be there. I knew that I didn't need to be traveling anymore. At least not the way I had been. I had even said at the beginning of the year I wasn't going to overbook myself, but yet here I am overbooked. So while I'm sitting at my shop this week and I'm thinking over things and I'm just breathing, and I realize I'm not supposed to be traveling as much as I did last year because that is no longer my path. I did what I needed to do last year, but this year my path is not that. It's different. Now, there are still some events that I do need to go to. I will be in Arkansas on the 21st through 23rd of July in Paragould at Scared City. I will be in Tulsa at the Oklahoma Comic Con, and I will be at Scarefest in Lexington, Kentucky in October. I will be canceling my LA trip. I will be canceling Chicago and several others because I have other things I have to do. I realize that I have gotten off of my practice, all in the name of rushing forward, all in the name of these 9 goals I had up there staring me in the face since January 1. And I realized that those goals are no longer my goals. I don't know that they ever were. So I did a lot of thinking. I did a lot of shadow work this week, some deep, intense shadow work. I mean, I was grounded from TikTok. I was grounded from lives. I didn't want to do them. I could have got on YouTube and done some lives, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to. My Capricorn self, I completely threw that fit. Oh, yeah, you don't want me on there? Well, I don't want to be on there. I completely went down that hole. I realized that I had to get back to doing a lot of the spiritual things that I had been doing. And in doing the spiritual things that I had been doing, not doing, I haven't been grounding myself. I have been continually ungrounded. I had a massive amount of epiphanies about myself, about my path, and about where I had thought I was going. I was reminded again of who I am and who I've always been. And I was gently shoved back to myself. I was also reminded that I've quit doing a lot of the spiritual things that I used to enjoy. I used to get up in the mornings, and if it was nice outside, I would go put my feet in the grass, and I would do about 15 minutes of Qigong and just breathe and just be and not think about anything else but the breath going in and out of my lungs and how my body felt as I moved it. I hadn't done that in almost a year. 9 months. And as I was doing that, I looked down at my feet, because one of the poses, you reach down and you touch the earth. And I saw that I had 1 foot in the shadow, 1 foot in the light. And as I stood back up, I had to stop and grab my phone and take a picture of it. And it's on my blog post today on my site. Because even though I had 1 foot in the shadow and 1 foot in the light, I found it funny that I still had the shadow of the shadow leg on the other foot. Even in balance, 1 foot in the shadow, 1 foot in the light, the shadow still touched, still reached over, reminded me. No one is immune to the trials and tribulations of life. A quote by Martin Lawrence. I'm constantly, on a daily basis, talking to people who are in the depths of their trials and tribulations, who are in some of the lowest points of their life. Daily. I remind them, and I remind everyone on TikTok, and I'm reminding you right now. The void is the best part of the journey. The void is the hallway. You can't go from the bedroom to the bathroom. You can't go from the bathroom to the kitchen. You can't go from the kitchen to the front door without Hallways. Hallways are where we hang memories. You know, all the school pictures of when, from the time you were in kindergarten until you graduated, pictures of vacations, pictures of amazing times. The hallways are where our memories are. The bedroom is just to rest. The kitchen is just to feed our soul. The doors are just to exit. The hallway is where our life is. Trials and tribulations are a good thing. They're a part of life. And I know some of you guys are like, bullshit. I mean, everyone knows they're a part of life. Everyone knows they're a part of life. But I want you to listen to me when I say this again. They are a good thing. Every single one of us has times when we are at our absolute rock bottom, when there is nothing else to scrape up. We all have those points. It's different for everyone. And every time you experience it, it's different for you too. Without those times, you have no atonement. You have no growth. You have no shadow work. You have to have those times. You have to. You cannot take the safe road and just be stagnant, complacent. I mean, you can, but you won't have any growth. So guess what? You get to do this again and again and again until you accept those trials and tribulations. Every one of your souls knew what it was signing up for when it came here. There's a reason that you make the decisions you make. Even the ones when you look back and you're like, I don't know why the fuck I did that. I don't know why the fuck I said that. Your soul knows because you were supposed to. If you do not have trials and tribulations, there is no growth. You are stagnant. You are not growing in your shadow, in your spiritual self, emotionally, mentally, physically. You are not growing. And all of those people, and this probably is going to piss some people off, and I'm okay with that because this is one of the things I realized when I made that video joking. Humor is a trauma response, and I like to be funny. I made that video joking about how the universe had bullied me all week, and everybody's like, oh my God, yeah. And I had a couple of people made a comment, one in particular. And I answered it with a video because at first I was going to ignore it because it was extremely disrespectful. And then I thought, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to do a video. But I had to shoot the video like 4 times because it was really disrespectful. I walked away. I went outside. I took some breaths and I came back in. I was like, you know what? This person doesn't understand. They have their arrogant hat on and they're being disrespectful because they think they have one up because they aren't going through trials and tribulations. Because they're in a stagnant pattern. And it actually made me sad for that person when I realized that. Trials force your shadow into the light. Trials force the light into the shadow. So when I'm reading this comment from this person, and I'm answering this person, I realize that there are so many people on social media, on TikTok especially, that have not been walking a spiritual path for very long. They're still in the love and light phase. That is the first phase when you start walking a very spiritual path, when you fully embrace it. It's love and light. Or it's all baneful shit because you have some anger, you have some deep emotions that you have to work out. But the vast majority is all love and light. You ignore the bad. The problem with all love and light is that it turns into toxic positivity extremely quickly. You dismiss other people's trials, other people's feelings, other people's emotions because you are in a love and light phase. Don't push that on people. If you want to be in a love and light phase, babe, that's all you. I've been there. I've gone through my love and light phase. And the universe sat me on my ass hardcore then too. Because I knew better. There's a level of respect that comes with being a spiritual soul. I've noticed a flip-flop trend repeatedly on TikTok, and that at the beginning, when witch talk first became a thing, there were people that are on there that are considered elders. Technically, I would be considered a crone. If you guys don't know what a crone is, a maiden is technically before you are of childbearing age. A mother is when you have children, and a crone is when you are done having children and you are now teaching. Even though I'm only 46, if I still had my parts, I technically, I guess, could still get pregnant, but I had a hysterectomy in 2016. Technically, I fit the crone. When you hit that phase in any practice, you become the elder, you become the teacher. Now, there are some elders that are just starting their spiritual practice. I am not saying that elders and that young people don't deserve respect, because everybody does. Outside of social media, in the real world, respect is given and earned. In the real world, outside of social media, elders are respected and treated as such. You can read every fucking book. You can read every article. You can watch every video. You can do every single spell and working on TikTok that you come across as you're learning. And I highly recommend that you do. Seriously, even the ones that are bad, even the ones that don't work. And most of them don't. But nothing speaks for experience. There are a handful of older creators, that when TikTok first started, when Witch Talk became a thing, stepped out. We were like, hey, we're happy to teach you guys. We love that y'all are fired up about this. Let us teach you. And y'all flocked to us in droves. And I've heard other older creators that I follow that have had the same problem that I have. I actually had to put a non-compete clause and a copyright clause on my classes last year. I've never had to do that. I've been teaching since 2014. I've been teaching a little longer than that, but like publicly, 2014, 10 years next year. I have never had to put a clause in my classes, but I had people that were taking 1 or 2 classes, stealing my material, and then going and trying to teach other people. People that would tell me, oh, I just started my path a month ago, 3 weeks ago, a couple months ago. Honey, you have no fucking business teaching. You have no business teaching. You are going to hurt people. But hey, not my prerogative. Not my monkeys, not my circus. What's interesting is that there was this shift from the older creators that have been practicing the majority of their life, as I have, as I'm going to drop a few names here, and I suggest you guys go follow these creators, even if you don't agree with everything they say. And here's why. They have been walking their path for a long time, and they know their shit. I'm going to name two of them. I follow both of them. I may not always agree with what they say, but goddamn, I respect both of them. You know why? Because just like me, they stand by what they are and who they are and what their practice is. That would be Mama Sunfire and Witchfoot. I have heard both of them over the last year and a half, year or 2 years, whatever, that I've been following them, talk about how there were people that have taken their classes or expected to be leveled up faster than they were. Do y'all know, in a traditional witchcraft setting, pagan practices, hoodoo, voodoo, root work, conjure, you practice for over a year before you're ever given any kind of title? A traditional year and a day is an initiate role. You're not advanced because you've been practicing for 3 months. You're not advanced because you've been practicing for 6 months. Most people aren't even advanced after they're practicing for 2 years. You have to put in the work. I've heard Mama Sunfire on one of her videos talk about somebody coming to her and expecting to learn faster, blah, blah, blah. And she flat told them, if you're not willing to put in the work, then I'm not the teacher for you. And this isn't the path for you. And she was 100% fucking right. If you aren't willing to put in the work and the time, this is not the path for you. This is not the practice for you. Christianity will let you do it all day long. Go do that. Because they do all kinds of fucking spell work over there too. Just because you've been practicing a month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, doesn't mean you're a high priestess. It means you got too big for your britches too fast and you're fixing to get your ass handed to you. Now, here's the other thing, and this is, I want to go back to this other aspect with these comments and so on. Life isn't meant to be easy. Life isn't meant to be easy. If you take the easy path, you have no growth and you get to do do-overs. And if you want to step out and you want to come at older creators with very deep disrespect, you get what you get. Now, here's where I say this. Just because someone comes at me disrespectfully doesn't mean that I do anything against them, because guess what? I am at the point in my practice where I don't give a shit. If you want to be disrespectful, man, that's on you. That's on you. I was raised around elders in multiple Native American practices. I was the redheaded stepchild that was drug around to all of these places. And I was the one that they showed things to. I learned from a young age to treat elders, especially those in a spiritual capacity, with respect. And it's not just please and thank you. With respect. Some of the comments I have gotten from younger creators on here blow my mind. If you went into the real world and you said things like this to an elder, oh honey, I'm just gonna leave that open for y'all's imaginations. And it's not that elders will do something to a youngster. We won't. Because when an elder reaches a certain point, we don't have to. That youngster's spirit team is going to set them on their ass. We don't have to do a fucking thing. I don't have time for it anyway. Elders don't. We have other shit we're worried about. Now, does that mean that I know everything? Oh, hell the fuck no. I get sit on my ass repeatedly. My team can tell you I rush forward. I work 14 to 16 days at a time. And then my body goes, bitch, we got to have a break. We need a breather. And about every 3 months or so, I hit the wall and I got to take a couple of days of a breather. I ignore my gut. I get sat on my ass. It's part of it. Everyone does it. It's part of it. No one is perfect. So I want you guys to remember this. Every single time you go through trials and tribulations, it's an amazing thing. The hallway is where you make your memories, my friend. It's where you see how strong you are. It's where you see where the parts of your backbone are that need to be strengthened a little more. Respect is given and earned. You give respect and you earn the respect. You don't automatically get it. Especially when you treat others with disrespect. For all of you that went through the last couple of weeks, last 3 or 4 weeks, and feel like the universe bullied the shit out of you and you got your ass handed to you, congratulations. You went through a major level up. For those of you guys that went through it before that, congratulations. For those of you guys who are like, oh shit, I didn't go through it yet. I'm sure that it's coming, unfortunately. Congratulations. If you haven't had anything happen in the last 6 months, you need to look at your priorities and you need to look at where you're stagnant in your life, where you're ignoring your gut, where you're ignoring or hiding from the universe. If you haven't had any trials or tribulations in the last 6 months, babe, you're stagnant. Okay? So, told you this was going to be a long one. I want you guys to know that I'm proud of you. And I don't just say that just because I need to say it. I say it because I know that people don't get to hear it enough. And I know that if you went through the same last couple of weeks that I did, if you went through any of this bullshit that's been going on over the last few months that everybody else did, then sweetheart, I'm proud of you for making it. I'm proud of you for not punching a bitch in the face and going to jail. I'm proud of you for continuing to get up every single morning. I'm proud of you for not giving up. I'm proud of you. Your ripples matter more than you will ever know. More than I can ever tell you. And I want to thank you. Because without you guys, I can't do the things that I do. I mean, I can, but I can't. Does that make sense? Without you guys, I wouldn't be here teaching. Without you guys, I wouldn't have reason to teach. So thank you. You guys make my life amazing. Even those of you guys that never ever comment or say a word. You just watch my videos, you watch my live, you listen to this podcast. You make my life amazing. Your ripples touch me on a daily basis and allow me to send out ripples that touch thousands of people on a daily basis. Your ripples matter, my friend, more than you'll ever know. So, I will see you guys next week on the next episode of the Bodhiverse. As above, so below. As within,